What I remember is a quote from Nicholas Moritzen. You might know him as Pengu.
20 seconds on the clock.
Yeah, that fella.
Oh, yeah.
He said playing with Hungary was fantastic because it's not just the Candelas. The point that Hungary can do that not a lot of people in the world can do is he can play pretty much anything.
Yeah, that was it, right? It's like, I really don't want to play Buck. Hungary's like, okay, I'll do it.
I'll do it.
I'll play it.
He's, we need someone to play multi? I'll play multi.
He's a Swiss Army knife.
Exactly.
But from Germany.
A German army.
Swiss Army knife. What? Hello?
Milos is waving at
You say
happening.
Croats.
No, I think I'm wrong.
No, I don't think Hungary's Croatian.
I know German.
DM him.
Hybrid.
He's a bit busy right now, but he might
The
respond later.
GSA Army knife.
You know how last
Got
week...
Germany and Switzerland.
You know how last week Desert Ace had an occasional fresh pop in?
Yeah, we should have
Maybe we'll get an occasional Milos.
Occasional
Just
Milos.
Utter nonsense.
It's his own
I was
words,
going to
by the way.
use the word quoted by Parker in a fantastic cast at SI, the holy that went around the world, but utter nonsense also works. Hey, Solus is banned.
Not surprising. Is an operator that could be quite impactful. I think is a good way to say it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when used correctly, we talk about the waste of time. We talk about the pressure that can be applied in the dying sort of 30, 20 seconds. That's when Solus is going to be the biggest problem. The Azami on the board, that grim skin. Packball, what are you doing? Packball leading in with the Grim pick here. You've got a Grim, Glaz, Blackbeard,
Will this last? I don't think it will.
Monty lineup.
This could be either...
I want this to last.
I wanted to.
I want this to last to mess up people's statistics. Damn it.
I was going to say, something inside of me tells me it will not last.
No.
At least the Blackbeard and the Glass are still out from the origin. Oh, no.
Is it going to be the full 5 repick?
Yes!
Yeah!
We're having all 5.
I can't believe that wasn't how they wanted to open the game. I mean, to be fair...
It might actually be a strategy to have for a different side.
Well, that's the thing about WYLDE, and that's one of the fantastic things. The sort of quote of their opening game against Koi was that they came in on round 1, and it was obvious they had an idea. They played mining, I believe, as their first site. They had a great idea of how they wanted to play the objective of this game. It's very likely that they'll pull out a play with a little bit more pizzazz than what we're used to sort of seeing from the sort of humdrum, because, you know, up to the way that CGG counts plants, which I know is different to some other people, but I'm just going to quote CGG for now. 9 plants, technically, are accredited towards WYLDE over the previous 2 games. I'm going to put a little bit of an asterisk, because I know there was some conversations about they track things differently to actually plants going down.
Yeah, I know how they're actually tracking it. It's if the plant goes down, whilst the attacking team wins the game, also counts as a successful plant. And it's actually because the game does that as well, so...
Weird.
Yes. Well, I've started doing it as well myself, just to stay on the same route, you know, and CGG in the game itself. That's fine.
I'm a plant purist. If it goes down and it's counted, it's counted.
We have different planting ideologies now.
A minute has gone on by whilst we've talked about it, and the defense is still kind of untested on the site itself. They've pulled themselves back down. They're not going for the full stretch of the map itself. The Claws are maybe going to play against these hatches. I'm not sure how aware WYLDE are of this, but with these mute jammers cutting the drones out, they've had to sort of go back up, re-clear the top floors and start the progress once again. They're eyeing themselves up towards blue. They're eyeing themselves up here towards the approach onto main. But otherwise, Eminem casts the chest, holds to the ground.
The thing is, there is a Thatcher on the board. You might have forgotten that after the original 5 that have been picked, and that means that there's literally not a single excuse for, well, this hatch to not open up, because you could just go for a double EMP, and if they are only relying onto the Electroclaw to do the job, because it doesn't look like they have any impacts near, they do not have any impacts near, just to C4s they could use. That means that if they just double EMP up, it should open up without any issue.
Well, there's an EMP on towards the church wall itself. That's going to get popped in. The idea is to stop any mute jammers the second, and the Claw goes onto the kitchen hatch itself. I think they've sort of read, well, the push is coming here towards the Moto side. If we can keep this locked, we get ourselves a little bit more safety. The floor's going to be awkward, so they still can't play the swing on the back end, but look what they've cleared. It's exactly to stop this Moto drop. They've forced any player that might be on the back end of that deep armory side, and, well, they can sort of try and eke a plant in 30 seconds. Some rotation, some control up to the opposite end. The smoke canister's just going to stop the drop, all of the potential of the swing of the crossbow bolt onto the other side. It's Solotov that opens up the first kill, though. Teb, the Italian, has picked off on the far end. Nath suffering slowly and steadily as Solotov's also on a sliver of health. The pressure on the back end. Aces just missed out on the first engagement, catches the swing out, but Tyrant has the cover from the A-box. Packbull, he's caught out on Moto Door. Users has the lock-in with Tyrant getting, obviously, the kill there before, and, well, he won't get the next. It's Users and Nath for an Eminem lockout on the opening round.
Nothing really happening from Wild throughout that round.
Yeah,
like they were doing something, you know, they were pushing and you know, pinching every now, but it's not like...
It was quite standard. It wasn't...
Where was the explosion,
It wasn't
right?
very wild.
No, it wasn't very wild. It was very, very tame.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
I will be making a few of those.
I love the Cyclops background card, by the way.
Oh, the Cyclops
I think
skin
they have won the skin
is
game.
amazing. All the new skins are very, very cool.
Yes, they
obviously,
something
there was also
completely
the one by Kubi that we unfortunately cannot
Honestly,
get.
I would have loved it.
But it's a gorgeous, gorgeous skin. I really hope and look forward to the opportunity of them one day being able to have something in our game. But either way, the other skins are all fantastic as well. And then Cyclops is the one that I bought first. Oh, it's stunning. It's
amazing.
It's so Cyclops.
Was it a UMP? It's a UMP, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so Nath might be able to bring it. So I'm pretty sure he would have brought it. He's also running the background cards. So.
Okay. The starting round there, it was a bit slow and steady from Wild. It's your first attack here onto Club. Club, you know, it's a map that a lot of people know. It's a map that, as we've seen, was a bit of a slog match in the previous showdown, the full 15 rounds between the two teams. Eminem, it was a very solid first hold that doesn't really work as well as in a turtle does the other two sites. So this one should be a little bit more of a far-out fight. Look at the ex-Kairos prepped on all of those castles before they pop them.
They're not going to pop them yet, so they want to go for some like instant aggression. So
There
all
it
three are
is.
going to be opening up now.
Oh,
They're
here we
gonna have
go.
some people ready. See if they can pick up anybody. No one is home currently from the side of M&M, or at least no one is trying to challenge it. But at least all of them are going to be open. They could have done that with the Sledgehammer, of course, as well. But this is just more cool this way.
There it is. They get that holding wall on the site itself popped open, throw the pocket EMP. They've also opened up construction during that. They're going for something very well put together and timed here. And they haven't been rewarded with a body on the opposite end for it. MNM, although these angles and openings have opened themselves up, the single soft and hard there onto the side of Jacuzzi is... They're trying to bait the entrance, but Jegs just gets that smashed open. Nello obviously has the chance to loop a C4 over the top. He doesn't want to go for the entire swing here. Tyrant still tucked in on the far end. The CC wall starts to open, but the castle there, put with the heart, stacked up, it really offers a lot to Rafters here.
This is going very slowly. Doesn't want to give away the game.
Quiet ladder.
Quiet ladder coming through. The big hole that has been created earlier by the Thermite. There it is. That's a free one. There's a push through for the second. Potentially sees it now. That's the kill coming through. Tyrant picked up, and now suddenly Wild will find themselves with a 2-minute advantage before they get far back on.
There it is. They've been able to find a kill with the smoke. In the meantime, Solotov scrapes ahead and almost slips out of there, but actually tucks himself in a little bit closer towards the fight. Nath, he's stuck under. The fight is dipped and rolled around. Tried to bait it. Packbull's caught out. Solotov. He swings them back in. Jegs inside the site. They're going to go for the rotate back round. The site is currently in the control of Wild. They have the kit in there as well, but with the hot pings coming through, they are not confident. They want to try and win the fight with the 50 seconds that they've got. The drive comes around the corner. Jegs, he swings on. He gets it locked in. There's Hungry on the back end, in fact, getting the end of it. The 2 versus 1. The shotgun not round the side. The smoke canister. If either of them gets a whiff of it, they're gone. Hungry's going to try and stick the plant in the meantime. Jegs is watching one way. They're hoping for the reveal on the other. Hungry's going to stick it. There's that second smoke. It doesn't quite get them. There's the quad. Can Solotov get the ace on the back end? He cannot! Just a sliver too high, but eked out the rest of the round. Wild bounce back.
Almost able to secure that round. It was so close. If only that second smoke canister would have gone through the door, you might have been able to go for the lockout there. But all those what ifs. An incredible attempt by Solotov, but as you mentioned, Wild able to find themselves around as well. And this one looked more like Wild compared to the last one. Ace is just getting through, finding the opening, finding that double kill to get it with the rest of the team, making the opening happen on the side itself. We didn't really see that when we were in church. Like, yes, they were trying to look for openings, but because they were so turtled, there wasn't any they could work with. And now they're going to try and do the same, but we're headed to CCTV. Now, we always talk about how Clubhouse is that step-by-step map. This is why. Step 1 will be to open up the balcony outside. Step 2 is to take control of the garage, which is currently being reinforced by users. He's most likely going to be using most his magnets there onto the little, lights that hang above the garage, just to catch any form of projectile flying at him. Just makes it a bit easier to keep a control of those mezzanines. At the same time, we see a lot of these long angles being created by MNM here, just to try and challenge whoever wants to throw up any vertical grenades towards those players up top, and I think Solotov will be tasked with defending that.
Getting himself the softs on those doors means that nobody's going to slowly creep in with the quiet entrance on the far end of Strip and suddenly make a bit of a strike ground on the back. It sort of shortens a big portion of the map that's otherwise not really going to be tested and played anyway, unless you decide to try and go for something very bold. But it's not the MO, it's not the case here, and it's not the causation they want. Instead, it's more of a top floor cutoff. The roll of the Thatcher, this wall will get popped open. There's no stress or pressure. The Selmas and Nello gets Jegs on the back end, and suddenly Hungry does get Nello back. He was in a position there, not entirely sure, underneath, inside stock, the Ash Breach. He's able to find it from the side of stock door, gets the rotating player, causes some damage. Hungry and Solotov find each other once again underneath. They're drawing some attention. The Valk sort of saying, come find me. I'm making things awkward for you around stock. It's a fight where they're not really seeing anything other than bullet traces and maybe calls coming out from the side of Intel and drones. There's yellow pings. There's 3 wild players going for the lockdown here. They can't dedicate everything towards this, though, because, well, this is what they do. Rotate off the drop background. They found themselves new territory, and the attention has fully been drawn here.
That's going to be wasting even more time from the Wild players, because they literally just put 3 players towards hunting down Solotov, who then just disappeared. Going downstairs. Now we'll be popping up in a completely different spot. Maybe even behind some of these Wild players. He has that Valkyrie camera that is currently being watched by one of his teammates, Nello, just to give him the information he needs. Like, hey, it is currently clear. You can start moving up to wherever you need to be. You do not have to worry about being chased. Because Aces right now is coming in right underneath the rafters there. It's Tab actually with a beautiful shot onto Tyrant that takes the garage under control. And that means Solotov now is in a position to try and retake that garage, or at least throw something in the works right here. But Packbull finds him successfully.
There were yellow pings, and there was a single door he could swing from. Now, in the 4 versus 2, they take an important fight outside. They try and make sure that the territory, although small, is still awkward on the approach. This grenade tucks itself in close. He doesn't get quite the red marker, so he sits and waits, but Hungry has the cross angle. The fire comes out on the wrong side, watches for the rotate, and doesn't want to pull the goo mine out just yet. 30 seconds. They have the kit still in pocket. They have nothing to stop this from range other than going for the swing and the fight itself. The slightly new positioning, the bait, the motion, and the movement. They're pre-firing every single angle just to get themselves in the building. Packbull, he's going for the plant. The first take as Usis looks for the second and gets the down. Packbull swings and Wild. Well, that's the second round in a row, but a second one that's nail-biting.
3v1, potentially post line coming through. Just having to get off there because both your covers died. Well done by Wild, though. They took the control they needed. They found themselves the opening. They got garage. Beautiful angle from Tep, by the way, where he was able to basically clear that out for the rest of his team. And they proceed from there. In the lead now, Wild. After a very tame first round, these last 2 have looked way better. And to some extent, this might be the battle for the first place. Like, whoever wins this is going to be finding themselves in a really good position to go over to that top spot, which of course gives you a bye in the next stage. The next phase, I have to say. And as we go through, it is, of course, well, that new team that is still like that unknown factor. And yes, of course, we've seen them play, but then they revamped their roster as well. And they come in with that aggression, like, I don't know what it is, like, what exactly to name it, but it's like controlled, very successful, very effective, and teams just not really sure on how to deal with it now. But my question on those kind of playstyles is often like, how long will it last before teams will start working out how to play against it?
This is the thing though. Over the past 2 rounds, and yeah, they've been nail biters. They've come right down to the end. The first was almost an ace from Solotov to be the reason we got into that situation. And the second there, it was a 1 versus 3, almost clutched against it.
Yes.
WYLDE are still running with a great consistency game. They're still focused on the objective. They're still eyeing up the cause in the case of, well, we have the number of who we're up against here. And MNM, regardless of how long a team takes to get a read against them played, it's still struggling, I would say, to get a full handle outside of that opening round.
If rounds 2 and 3 were Eminem on the defense, on the attack, I mean, they would have lost it, considering it was like 1v3 and 1v5. That's, you know, that's just how it goes for them. Always seem to lose those. It's a bit of sarcasm, by the way. For those that don't know.
Thanks for clarifying.
I mean, there's maybe people watching. It's like, what do you mean they will always lose a 5v1?
It's like,
it's just what they do. It's their brand.
Yeah.
So let's look from above. Has he been spotted by a drone? Is always that big question. Don't think he has currently. Oh, well, he definitely has been. They try to bait him out there with opening up for the X-Scars. They knew someone was going to be above. And they find themselves with a free kill. Great start for WYLDE.
Grenades, hell of a tool in the right hands, and there is the lead in. The smoke's just going to stop the Monty getting a bit too close, but it's not really the fight that you want to try and entirely throw yourselves in. Support is coming, I believe, from the side of Jags. And we talked about Hungary being the sort of Swiss Army man, being able to play pretty much anyone. Monty was one of the operators I listed, where if you need him for a push, he's happy to pick up the 30-ton shield, or however heavy it is, and bring it along.
Slowly going forward, further and further, trying to bait Nello out of all the smoke canisters in the meantime. And it's going to be the drop from Packbull. Doesn't quite hit the first, gets taken down. Nave also gets injured though. The diffuser is dropped on the side. There's 60 seconds left on the clock. How are WYLDE going to be recovering this? Well, the answer is going to be double kill to come through, as it's now a 2-on-3 situation with still that shield active inside the dirt tunnel.
Nello is in a tit-for-tat fight, but all that says to them is, I've got Nello inside the corridor. Try and push the single man. Tyrant's holding on, and Nello wins out against Hungary. Leaves just Teb alone above the hatch. Drops the flash onto the first. Wants to pre-fire the fight on the second. Is going to try and just drive towards a single 1 versus 1. He's not that close. And MNM, they hold on. It was, you know, once again, a man down towards the dying throes of it. But this time, they come out on top.
This time, they do indeed, and they find themselves with that second round. They also know that this match against WYLDE is going to be a difficult one, so the more rounds they get earlier on, the better it will be for them as we proceed. But WYLDE, did they go too early there? Is that question I want to ask. I mean, they knew where Nello was, they knew where one of the other players was. Then they dropped through the hatch, unfortunately unable to pick up any kills from that, losing more than they gained. And of course, after that 2v3, that looked really good for them, especially with the Monty dancing around with Nello in the dirt tunnel. I'm not quite sure how the kill happened on the other side by Tyrant, but there could have just been a bit of a lack of coordination, like one went a bit too early and the other wasn't able to instantly go for a reply or anything like that. But those are those little rough steps you get over as a new team, right? Like, you do not have that cohesion yet that teams who have played together for like last 6 months, 7 months, or even longer than that for some. It takes some time to start working on that cohesion. And WYLDE's already really far for the amount of time they're together.
I mean, it's always that sort of drive. It's something where, to be honest, Packbull's had an effect like that on a couple of different teams. Packbull's been brought in, and the teams found really good objective success against the top contender teams not long after. And coming back in, we've seen some top contender teams from this region struggle a little bit. Obviously, in G2, a bit up and down. BDS, a lot down. Heroic and MNM, in terms of other teams that have been at the major, or been at SI recently, have had a bit more success, I think, from their side, from their group. And MNM, they're going to see if they can try and keep that crown going here against WYLDE. You know, as you said, haven't been as tested.
No, not yet. And that always gives us that beautiful form of surprise. Like something that we usually have when the new Challenger League teams came in. Solotov, what are you doing?
I mean, well,
right after it opens up.
He's doing it right. He's doing it after it opens up, because if the thermite charge
of course, then it gets destroyed.
It would have got destroyed. But right after, he's got to have a lot of faith that the audio he heard was a rappel going all the way to the top.
Well, even if it is to the top, he could just, like, you know, go to the side of that balcony and just shoot him right as he does it. So, oh well, it worked out. So no real complaint there. But it was definitely a bit of a risky move coming down from Solazov. But it worked out for now. The wall has been closed, and they would have to use even more heart breach if they want to open that one up. Nave is on a bit of a roam. It's just chilling around near the garage, going up the ladder now. Don't think he has been spotted. He's coming right into the back of 2 players there.
Ooh, whether they know or not, it doesn't seem like they do. When are they going to strike? As soon as one falls, the call will come out on the second, and the E1D puts a pause in Nave's motion. He's quick to pick it back up. The Valcam has the read. There's the first. He looks for the second fight. Nave tucks himself back round. Suddenly, they have to have an awareness of what's behind them. Packball is rotating his way back round. They want to try and lock down whilst they have 50 seconds. There's the fight. Teb. A very clean take and, well, problem at least averted for now. Sure, they lost the player, but they also lost just the Iana. They still have the means to try and smash themselves here. The flashes and the drive, 2 grenades as well. The tucked player, a tyrant underneath. He's free to play there as long as that window is still soft. The flashes come through, the pressure and the pop, the preparation is all towards that single plant on the back end.
That one is definitely going to be stopping Jax a little bit here. He's not able to move in as quickly as they want. Packball ready to go for the jump, and he's not actually being watched this time. Digs himself in deep, goes for that plant, and there's no one to actually try and stop this.
Yeah, Teb. He drew the attention of Tyrant away from the window underneath. They're going to see if they can try and get the stick, but Packball, he's driven himself all the way around. It's a pre-fight fire that Nello wins out on the first. Packball looks for the second, but with the mirror window there and the rotate round on the back end, it just leaves an M&M round.
I'm not quite sure where that fell apart for WYLDE, considering basically if you look at the M&M backline, you had one on the stairs, you had one on the lodging mirror window, you had one in the bathroom. There was a player, of course, below doing some damage to the planter, which is why they had to get off. But like then they went a bit too aggressive, but they weren't really like convincing with their push. Like they were hesitant, wasted a lot of time as a result of it, lost out a player as well. And when you lost the player in Jacuzzi, suddenly there's no more cover from that hallway. And you cannot go for the plant anymore. So, kind of went wrong for WYLDE there. That they had something going, just weren't able to quite translate it, as they weren't able to shut down that one player down below. And it shows you how powerful a single position like that can be.
I mean, it was that moment there of MNM sort of having the response. The opening couple of rounds, as we said, sure, they got one, and then things kind of went away from them. They took a bit of time for all of them to start firing on that same line. The line that they can do very well, whether it was just a team talk or look, we're pulling this apart, we know what we can do. You look at the balance across both teams right now, and the firefight is really leaning in towards the favor of MNM. Great Gunners is always going to be a test of any team, regardless of where you've come from, what prep you've done. It's a very aggressive mirror window.
I'm wondering if he's going to pop it as soon as he sees someone out there.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. They realize the wall's going to get opened. So what you can do with this mirror window is, well, if they're trying to get the breach, pop it open, toss an impact to the side, and you'll destroy potentially any of the electrics that are otherwise being propped against it.
And that way it stays a line of sight rather than actually having the opportunity of being a breach they can walk through. But WYLDE have given away that they do want to go for the garage instead. 2 openings already made, drones are rolling out. They're trying to isolate Tyrant first, most likely, as he is on the front line of the mezzanines. But there's also a second player around there near the actual window. Resetting his drone is trying to see if there's anybody around the bar area. Now, didn't quite get the spot. There is definitely a player out there that they need to be careful of.
There's those impacts I talk about. They're just hitting the side of it, but they don't quite get it in time. Yep, they should be able to get through that, at least as a crouch. They might try and get a little bit more. Tyrant just sees his life flash before his eyes. The burn of the bolts, the fire pushes the player. He's actually out of the way of the first grenade. Almost wins the fight against the second, but Jags and Hungry suddenly find one apiece. Nafe with a very aggressive position, punished by Packball watching from hopped up on the CC window, so Solazov has to try and rotate his way back round, but is caught out on a drone. That C4 won't quite get the full impact, but the fight is the follow-up will. Suddenly, Nello versus the WYLDE, and with a minute 20, 2 grenades, 3 flashes, 2 hard breaches, and a couple of bolts to throw in, spells a bit of danger here for Nello.
Also feels like Aces has literally survived like 2 magazines being shot at him.
he's really used a lot of his lives.
We'd say that's a 1 armor going through right there. Either way, smokes are coming in, and they're trying to isolate Nello. They know probably exactly where he's going to be. It's going to be in cash, so just send in the utility soon and know exactly where he is, and it's a flawless round as Aces gets the last kill. Beautifully played by WYLDE. Did everything they needed to do there, stayed methodical. Managed to find themselves the garage under control and actually got some bonus kills from there as well. So, well done. 3-3 split. But now the side swap. And we always mention it, there's 2 sides to a game of Siege.
Do you know?
Yes?
Do you know what Siege game had a 3-3 split on Clubhouse? And they went the full 15 round.
Let me just quickly go back by 1. Oh, well,
Yeah, it was
Virtus Pro and T2.
It was the game just before. It was a Clubhouse that had a 3-3 half. This has felt a little bit more explosive. I think you can sort of see these big moments and big plays happening, but it might also herald that little waved flag of this could be another long one. This could be another club that goes all the distance.
And might get what you want. Another 15 rounds of club to analyze.
Damn it, Anne.
You gotta manifest this into existence. Either way, 3-3. It's that even split. But WYLDE now over towards the defense. How are they going to be dealing with Eminem's attacks? Or how is Eminem going to be dealing with their own attacks against a WYLDE that is more than happy to take an aggressive gunfight every now and then? Are they going to be prepared for it?
I guess this is the sort of moment now. Obviously, WYLDE, when they started this league, it was with very good defense. They sort of had that as the drive. It's the thing that might get corrected and learned against and prepared for, but if anything is prepared for, it's an attack on CC, on club. They've opted for it as their first hold as well, and with a Thatcher on the board, you're not really going to be able to get too much of a trick against this for not even a Thatcher worth their salt. The generic Thatcher surely can crack this wall.
What you want to do is a Thatcher and a double breach, right? So as soon as the EMP goes off, you have Selmas on one and the exothermic on the other. That way, Tab is never going to be able to trick both at the same time. What you could also do is go for some concussions, which is what seemingly Tyre wants to go for, but he gets taken down from below.
Usus does get the fight back on the back end, but they lose the game that they wanted to play. The Bandits able to set themselves up on the wall, and suddenly it's re-electrified. I take it back. Maybe those disasters can strike, and suddenly MNM, their plan has started to fall apart there. They went for a bit of a back-end play. They've still got the wall left to get open. They still have the hard breach, but how are you going to manage it now?
They need to try and take care of the bent of wires, but how are you going to do that? Well, you could go for verticality. We don't have any explosions, so it's going to be a bit of guessing work to go for, so that's not going to be very impactful. I think they're going to be trying to go for a completely different approach right here. Open up that garage and see if they can move up the mezzanines instead to get with Nello on that Monty. That should maybe provide them some safety, at least allow them to get close towards the site, but at least they will miss that crossfire they wanted to set up from the balcony, and that is going to be a big pain for Eminem.
That's it, with a minute on, with at least some of the opening, and the Monty trying to cause some issues here onto Rafters, ping out the position and play against them. They've got to still go for the drive itself. Jegs, he's expecting the fight to come from underneath. There's about to be a bit of a rotate round underneath him as well. The 4 versus 4 with 40 seconds on the clock. All the ADS is still set up there. The Monty baiting as much attention as possible. Jegs is looking at every single direction for where this engagement might come from. There's still the players, obviously, as a support line. They've been able to get themselves tucked up and close. The Frostmat's going to stop them progressing any further than an awkward fight. The impact and the combination of a team kill and the Frostmat! Oh, no! A tragedy has befallen our team as we look across a devastating kill cam.
Pain. That's all you can say about that. I mean, okay, I like the idea that Eminem had. If you talk about it on paper, it was a good idea, right?
It was a good idea.
You get the EMPs in to stop any ADSs, which means you can then concuss the bandit from putting it down, which means the breach opens up. However, Zofia got picked up before the concussions actually came through. All of the EMPs were already expended, which means that you didn't have anything left to open up the main breach, which then allows you, or basically doesn't allow you to have that crossfire, which allows a player on the mezzanines to just play whatever and however he wants. And that Frostmed out there, that stopped the Monty from moving up. So WYLDE really had that round and the lock and key as soon as the Sophia died right there. There was nothing Eminem could have done except for try frag out, which they failed to do.
It was just a round, I think. Easier.
It was a round, yes.
It was a round.
It was a round.
Just a moment best forgot. There seemed to be a lack of coordination throughout that round from both sides. From the very beginning moments, except with the Thatcher, it was good ideas, to the good ideas at the very end there, where it felt like there was just a little bit out of step with each other that led to an unfortunate incident twice. But you brush those rounds off. It's their first defense. They've still got that. It's still the 3-4. There's still chance here to try and pull themselves back on this. The first drone caught out instantly by Teb, who pulls himself back, doesn't want to try and be met with the swing response.
Opening this time will be made onto the breach. At least I hope so. Just wanted to get that drone in first, make sure no one is going to be going for a bit of a run out as you do. And as the opening is there now, the goal will be to try and find out where these WYLDE players are at. Now, Tab already has been spotted on top of those red stairs. Now, Nello's going to try and get his drone out to see if there's indeed no one inside the garage. That has been confirmed. Next takes a bit of damage right there. Tab finds the kill into Tyrant in the meantime on the opposite side of the map. It's going to be a double kill from him before he gets shut down by Nello. But that's at least going to be the CCTV cache side taken care of. There shouldn't be too much pressure coming down there anymore. Aces, I believe, is being spotted currently. Yes, that's his one leg that is being shown to Nello, and he's going to go for the fight. He's going to try and chase him down.
Yeah, they're going a bit on the hunt here. They've got some motion. It's an aggressive swing, and Nello just catches one. Jags. And that brings the body balance back into at least an even fight. They've lost, things either side here. You're looking at a couple of C4s still sort of prepped and ready to go. You're looking at some that never will. You were also looking at, obviously, the aggression of the only frag grenades that they had on their team. The arrows to try and push some of this. The reclamation by Packbull gets that one back at least. But with the breach coming through onto the hatch itself, and that C4 not getting anybody, what can Eminem do with this?
I was going to say at least they didn't lose any of the operators that were able to open up the hatches, so they still have that basic opportunity to play it with. Also, they could open up the triple wall if they really wanted to attempt it, but there is a bit of pressure coming down. I believe just a second ago from Packbull was leaning into the motorcycle hatch. Opening made as well inside the dirt tunnel, so this might just be a split push coming in. One from the dirt tunnel, the other one dropping the hatch, and one pushing down the main stairs. As Naif just waiting, uses as well, going downstairs now. It seems like I have the right idea in mind. Are they just going to find Packbull though? Because he's the one that can stop that diffuser from landing on the ground and having the opportunity to go for the plant.
That's it. Look at the positions here that WYLDE have got themselves in. They kind of have a couple of 1 versus 1s that are about to pop together. There's the first fight, and it's Nello's to win, with Naif getting the tuck in on the plant, on the default plant spot. Aces gets one back. Packbull gets one as well. Usus is now alone without the kit in pocket. They're going for a wide rotate on the back end. But with only 4 seconds left, the first fight is his, and the Oryx is out of there.
Yeah, Ace is removing himself from the direct fight there, jumping up the hatch, making sure there's always that flanking opportunity. First of all, because the diffuser was dropped and it had to be recovered. Easy kill from the hatch, but also to make sure there was no opportunity to go for both the kills there. So while they find themselves 3-5, it seems like a timeout from MNM is being called here, because those last 2 rounds, they haven't quite been able to convert to themselves. And while it seemed like they were indeed the better team, now how are you going to be stopping that? You're on your attack. You are quick on your feet. Have the opportunity to instantly adapt to whatever WYLDE is playing.
A timeout makes sense at this point. Obviously, that's 3 technical rounds in a row here. There's been a lack of communication and coordination. There's been things suffered on the side of MNM the same way that the game opened up. And I said they sort of got their heads back together. They got themselves back ground towards that idea. Things drifted away a little bit, and they have to try and realign themselves. It's a fight for the top of the board. It's a fight to sort of continue here. Obviously, WYLDE, they've played 1 more game than M&M have, but a full fat win here for M&M. Suddenly the 2 teams are tied up, and M&M have an extra game to try and be the difference makers. It's a bit of a stress moment here. They want to keep themselves off the map point because the full value of those 3 points is a more precious commodity.
All right. Especially, again, mentioning it, looking about the fact that there's only 4 games per team to decide which of these teams are going to go on to the next phase of Stage 1. 2 drop out on each group. And that means if you stay behind too much, you are down for the count. Now, luckily, Eminem and WYLDE currently both find themselves within that top 3, but I believe they might even be able to lock themselves into first place depending on other results and depending on who wins this game. I believe it was WYLDE that had the ability to do that.
Very likely, seeing as they're already on 6 points.
Yes.
And with a huge round difference.
The win, it would be 9, and that's the entry frag for Solitov to come through in the meantime. Attempt to spawn peak, question mark? Not really.
No, it might have just been a punish on a rotate background. You never really know. It's not the most usual position that you would kind of have that player in on that situation. You're obviously looking at a bar hold as well. You want to keep, I guess, some of that territory as live as long as possible. You want to have the man who can see through smokes alive as long as possible as well. Hey, what's that? 6 smokes in the pocket of MNM. They could not have picked out a better opener.
For sure, taking down that warden is going to be giving you that freedom to use those smokes and set up a plant, because we are, of course, playing in Baron stage. Now, for those of you just tuning in for the very first time, this is very top 4 heavy on the defense, because verticality is often a good tool to stop any of these plants from happening. However, if you shut down certain of the verticalities and then start using the smokes and get that plant down, suddenly there's not much they can do anymore. They need to start dropping down. For a second there, I thought actually Nath was going to be trying to push himself in deep, but he fell back as the openings are being made. Did he hack that Mozzie Pest that was out there?
Can you hack the Mozzie?
You can hack Mozzie Pests, I believe, but you're only going to be catching Mozzie drones at drive-by. That's a good hack, by the way, on that Valkyrie cam.
Takes the Vault cam. Yep, that pest is... And it means they're clear to roll on through as well. It's the use of the Brava. Quiet, deadly, and in the right hands, it just buys you the control you need. Nello's pushed his way up. He's got the diffuser, as I said. It's very likely going to be a smoke plant, and the first has popped its way off. And without the Vault cam there, they've gone reverse. Another smoke has rolled on through this. I think Call's going out as well, and there goes Nath. The C4 over the top isn't going to quite make the distance. We have a plant. We do have a WYLDE player off the board as well on the back end. 5 MNM players stay standing. We talked about it before, the importance of attack timeout. Well, they are showing that importance. There's 1 for Hungry, but he's got to find a lot more. First, he's got to answer his phone. Somebody's calling him. Oh, it's the attackers. Oh, it's Eminem saying, come on, if you think you're hard enough, come and take the fight. Tyrant over the top. He's going to see if he can put the pressure onto main stairs, but it's Users with the long range. 5, 2, 4. 4.
You're correct. Well, it's still leading. A good round from Eminem, though. They managed to get those entry kills. They used the Brava to, first of all, get the camera inside of this site. They managed to take the Mozzie Pest out. Not that that instantly does something, but, you know, one provides you information, the other one allows you to continue gaining information. But more importantly, they managed to make sure that the hatch was not going to be contested. They were able to get that plan down under the cover of the smoke. You are with that Monty, so even if they would have tried to take shots at you, that shield would have reflected any of the rounds. Oh, yeah, that's not good.
No, I would say that's bad.
Yeah, that's bad. We'll find out whether or not.
We'll get that sorted now as Nave gets himself back into the game. A game crash. If you are unaware of how this sort of problem plays out, they'll have to play the same site again, same operators again. Obviously, attackers have the option to repick.
That's true, and the prep phase wasn't over yet, which means they can just go for a completely different
It was called instantly, so they have more than enough time to get those done. So we'll be back in just a moment. To be honest, it's something that I would say works a little bit in WYLDE's favor. They get time to talk a little. They get time to sort of weigh things up and talk about the round that just happened. It was their third site. It was their third hold. CCTV, they knew the play that came against them. They knew it fell apart. It wasn't entirely their doing. The first swing was perfectly timed, obviously, against CC window. They sort of read in, okay, they're going to try this, hit the Zephyr before a single stun could even leave the barrel.
Yeah, that was it, right? Like all EMPs were used to make sure that Zofia was able to get the stun off, but Zofia got shut down before the lifeline actually
That's it,
and that's all of it gone.
However,
yes,
the sort of collapse of that round was almost self-caused at points by Eminem.
I mean,
it was
it's more often, right?
But it is a thing, and that's something that WYLDE will be aware of. That's something MNM will be aware of. I feel like they're going to go for something a little bit less panache-driven. They're going to go for something a little bit more direct to the point. Because if something with a lot of flourish goes well, it's fantastic. You get a lot closed down, and maybe even a player. If it doesn't, you're left with no options. And that's where they found themselves.
Now, I'm just looking at all these player cameras.
Of course you are. That's all there is on screen.
And I do not see anybody talk currently. I haven't seen a single person move their mouse. So,
well, you can't see users' mouth.
well, you can actually, it's like a bit transparent underneath the black bar out there, so you could. But I'm just saying there's not much talk going on right now. So either both these teams are super 100% confident in the next hold or push they're going to go for, or there's just not much to discuss right now. And it's just pure focus from all of these players.
I mean, you have to sort of keep your head in the game. It's one of the toughest things about a long day is it will get stretched out when things like this happen. You get yourself warmed up and hyped and ready to play a certain game, and if that goes a little bit astray or awry, suddenly you're in a trickier situation and you've got to try and get your mentality back together. You know, WYLDE, they're still around ahead. They're still one-off guaranteeing themselves some points from this game, two from getting them to himself maybe top place, which is our most technical T2. And I know they came in, you know, sort of taking over Navi's spot, who had to leave it, and their players that have T1 history generally. It's still, I would say, they're our promoted team.
Yeah, they are sort of a promoted team. Like, we've got rid of the promotions, but this is the closest we're going to get.
Yeah, this is the closest we're going to get, guys.
I'm just checking, and if they win this, they would be on 9 points, which would mean that MNM is, well, they could technically equalize, but, you know, round differential and stuff like that. Koi still has the opportunity to go for 6 points, so all they could get is 8 in total. Wolves still has the opportunity to go for 9, which would actually put them on 10 with their current score. So it's not 100% confirmed, but at least they will be very, very close to. And depending on how the Wolves versus Secret game will go, you know, that might be another possibility locked off afterwards. So they're getting close. Well, if they get this win.
We love an underdog story in EU.
We do. It's always fun to see these new teams come in and instantly like shake up the table, being like, you know, we belonged in this league for longer than we are in it right now.
I mean, that's it. As I said, it's not that it's an entirely untested team as well. It's not, you know, for example, when Nello sort of came back into Tier 1 with the MNM roster that existed at the time, it was generally a fresh roster. It was a lot of new guns in that promotion side.
Yeah.
This, from a team of WYLDE, is a team that, yeah, parts of it have played together for a while. They've had a couple of players, obviously, leave them, even coming into this from this moment. But at the same time, you know, it's the true test is, can you keep the pace? Can you sort of prove that you can? They've done very well at that. They've got in, and as we hear some great sounds.
Yeah, usually that means the game has started again, but before we get everybody hyped up, we'll just make sure double confirm.
Oh, yeah, I don't want to say we're in the game until we're in the game, because you never... Yeah, in the game. We're in the game! 5-4. WYLDE still on their defense. As I said, they'll have to play the same ops, the same sites. The attackers can change because attacker repick was still active at the time of the rehost call. There you go. There's some fun guideline book for you. Everyone at home, enjoy it.
Rules work, you mean?
There's some fun rules. Rules can be fun.
I never thought I'd heard that, like, I'd meet the day where you say rules can be fun.
Yeah, I'm only saying this because I'm contractually obliged to say it.
Literally,
rules can be fun.
When we walked over to the studio, we're like, we're going to do some street crime.
I did.
Was literally
your
your goal.
Say that. Yes, but, you know, I think sometimes you just got to live a little. And now that we've lost Easy, Stefan, who has gone over to observe for NA, and we've brought in Pietro Red Lake, who's observing this very game.
The Italian Stallion.
We have to, you know, teach them our ways.
The second NA observer doesn't have a nickname yet. It's the only one currently. We need to work on that. Either way.
It's hard to come up with a nickname for Schreikel.
Yeah, I know. It works in Dutch, but that's a swear word, so...
Oh no. Well, don't say it. What we can say is Eminem, different approach. They still have some of the aspects that they had before, but the Zephyr's gone. The Thatcher's focusing on the wall that they want to focus on is getting this open. As I said, you can go for those gambit plays, but if they go wrong, you don't have anything. Here, they should at least have the wall. They're doing everything right. They've got the double hard breach. They've got the Thatcher ready for it. Teb should be able to catch one of these, but you can't really catch both. The X-Kairos, not the X-Kairos even, there's going to actually be the catch onto one. The Claw doesn't quite get the full pop-off, but does stop it fully getting opened. They at least have the angle, though. It's still an improvement.
This is still a very tough angle to work with, though, Emmy, because if you look at it, like, what are you going to be able to stop? Like, C4 is going through, you're not going to be shutting that down. Only really Tab running over to try and stop anybody from planting right behind the bomb chassis. So it's definitely not ideal. It's improvement, as you mentioned it, because there's something to work with, but it's not a lot. Grenade comes through, doesn't catch off Jegs. Quickly, the drones are being pushed back in, and the second opening comes through, so Eminem this time will actually have something more to work with. Like an actual angle that's useful.
Yeah, they have the angle, but it's only slight progress. Tyrant, the misthrow on the nade.
Drone.
Doesn't get the drone, doesn't get him. They do, though. Jegs finds the drone and tries to find a fight on the back end. There's the single ADS. The swing is about to come round on the back of this. They baited the audio of it, but you can see Jegs is still more than ready and able to shoot that fight. The duck at the right moment there, moves away from the fire that's pushed Packbull into this situation. He moves an inch and he's going to get caught out. There is the last of the Selmas. There's the last of Nello. Packbull removes them from the top end. The double down here onto the rafters. They knew it was a big push onto Garage last time round, and it's still a bit of that attention paid, but look at the timer. Eminem, they've got to try and formulate something.
C4 gets shot out. It's not going to be dealing any damage, but as you mentioned, they need to formulate something, and really all they're currently eyeing up is that garage control. But there's still two players out there. What kind of utility do they have left? Absolutely nothing they can work with here. Tyrando finds Packbull. It's going to be a great first pick to work with, but they need to start pushing up. Are they aware of the second player out there? Yes, they were. Fully flashed. Take him down. That's the mezzanines under control now, but 17 seconds. Diffuser's still quite far away from the sides. They need to run a big sprint here to have an opportunity to go for the plant, but Tab still out there with that C4 is going to be denying that potentially. That's a double kill. No, just a single to come through, but that's a diffuser down on the ground with 3 seconds left on the clock, and a wild victory in this round.
Another round falls the way to time there. Eminem, they tried to come up with a plan B after plan A sort of fell apart a little bit. They did a great drive onto the top of Garage, but that C4, I mean, as you said, it would have been a double had they not lost the opening firefight on the top of the swing of Red as well. There was nobody in a position there from the side of Eminem to pick that kit back up, to get a response, to cover that angle as well. They still had the player pushing up from underneath. They still had the player holding out on the balcony. And Wild push themselves towards a map point. Will they fell the third team here for the full fat 3 points? Can Eminem try and tear this one back to get something?
Just looking at it, like, again, the struggles with opening up that main breach. Like, at least they got it this time, but, like, look at the utility it cost them. 3 EMPs, an extra thermic, basically all their Selmas. And then they had that breach, which they were able to work with, but not fully either. So it's always a bit worrying when that main breach just is so difficult to open up for teams, because that's literally step one. We mentioned it so many times before. That's the only thing we always expect to happen, that wall to fully open up. And of course, well, they played that perfectly. They did everything they needed to do with Decayed, Electro Claws, and the Bennett wires. But well, new round is upon us. Aces is going to go and try for a spawn peek, but instantly falls off. Doesn't want to stick around too long. Of course, a lot at stake. 3 points. You do not want to give them a way back in. You want to lock it off as early as you can. And Solitaire will find Hungry on the opposite side of the map, right below the CCTV side.
Look at this. It's a bit of a quick pace to cut them out in the middle. They want to hold on to the hatches itself, and it's sort of, as I said before, sometimes a bit of a worry. Remember that it's not just about rotating from the top to the bottom. You've got to have the security to move down either of the 2 staircases, and, well, those are kind of being a bit watched, and peppered with some attention here. Jags is holding on, at least hoping for the bathroom swing. Teb himself has moved away. They've sort of left the single solo player at the top end. Can they try and move down the stair set? Jags has said, well, it's safe-ish. There's a bit of pepper and pre-fire. They're waiting for the swing round. They've pulled themselves back further away, and, well, Aces is very isolated.
But they're actually trying to let him up there because he has the opportunity to play that verticality with, of course, the hatch in the kitchen to try and make sure that stays closed. Also has the way to drop back down towards that first floor if the pressure gets a bit too hot, because these drones are certainly coming after him. If now Scene Logistics is clear, that means the opening on the hatch will soon start to come through, and Aces is falling back, but he finds himself in the middle of a couple of players out there. Solosov will find a kill, and that's a great second kill for Eminem to come through to keep them in this round and, well, even advance their advantage.
You could see he was trying to find an option to rotate his way back round or at least cause some damage, but the single player, the Nook, locked in, is damage enough. Over a minute. Eminem have all the cards currently working in their favor. They can start trying to apply the focus down to the site. They can make sure that they hit with a lot more time than they had before. There's a couple of C4s that can do some damage. The impact as well, but otherwise it's going to turn into a bit of a front-on fight if the Goyos then buy themselves some time. Those get pinged out. Solosov's drone will get removed, and with only 20 seconds gone, you can now feel the pressure coming against WYLDE's hold.
This is where they need to trade bodies on the side of MNM. You cannot wait too long because you're going to run out of time again. You just got to start throwing yourself at it. Try and at least put a bit of pressure onto the weakest point of the chain that WYLDE is currently still holding. Jesus comes down, the drones are coming in from blue as well. It seems like they want to be hitting it at every single side at every single given time. With 20 seconds left on the clock, that's Packbull gone. That means they can now drop the hatch and go for the plant, and that's exactly what Nello does.
Tab with the C4 to default, but Nello has picked himself a new spot. Solotov, he gets his third for the round. It leaves a single player, but not for long. 6-5, Eminem, they find a flawless. The first one in a while, but it'll now turn into this, the final round showdown. Will we have ourselves another OT here on Club?
Well, we at least saw the 12 rounds. Now the question is 14, maybe 15 even. And predicted it, or at least wanted it. Match point. WYLDE. Keep mentioning it. I'm just saying that if it happens...
It's like you're trying to get her.
If it happens...
Poor Anne.
She's the reason why. Either way. WYLDE, how are you going to be able to lock this up and bring yourself to a full 9? Be the uncontested top dog of the current group. Just a single game to go afterwards. It's exciting to see WYLDE play though. Like, just coming in and there's some, old names, and technically all of them have experience in like, the upper levels of competitive. But, some of them are a bit more experienced than others. Yep. Hungry, Aces, Packbull. And as you mentioned it, that mix and match, sweet.
That's the thing. Yeah, I would say it's more relevant for other teams because WYLDE have come in with a lot, I would say, more time.
Yes, they have had a lot of time to work on themselves.
Then TT9 is the comparison, if you didn't watch the first game. That was where my sweet reference was from.
Yeah, I know.
But here, WYLDE, I mean, that there was groundwork there. As you said, there's sort of that experience that's driven themselves around here. Eminem, they are experienced to their one round away. They've got to see if they can try and just pull the end. We talked about the importance of Nafe coming into the roster. It added a lot more structure towards a team that sometimes struggled with it.
As we go for Church, Tyrant leading the charge here. He's just about on stock. Now he should be droned out momentarily if they drive far enough forward. There goes one. There's a drone, has to be spotted, falls back instantly. Doesn't want to stick around and take the fight or a 50-50 because they would know of his position. And, you can fall back safely now, but that doesn't stay the case if you stay up there because MNM is slowly starting to wrap themselves around you at that point. It's the right call made there. But it does mean there's one less roamer to worry about. I'm not quite sure how many they are running currently on the side of WYLDE. Doesn't seem to be any. And that means they can start the preparative work. Open up these hatches, open up verticality, get some fuse charges out there to make sure that any piece of utility is going to be removed off the board on the actual defensive side. Wait for the impact. The hatches are going to be opened.
Yeah, waiting to try and play against that trick itself. They've got the attention down on towards Church. doubling themselves down here, but without the loose players on the top end. WYLDE is hoping for the 5 versus 5 gunfight to turn into a bit of a fun fight. Fair for them. With the stretch, with the play around onto the back end of Dirt, the lock-in is something that has kept itself a bit solid for now. There's not even the usual C4 that's tried to edge its way up aggressively from underneath the push here onto Kitchen. They're really holding themselves closer. They're hoping MNM struggles with time once again, but this is an MNM that has a lot more laser focus down towards the site this time round. They seem to have more of a pretense and an idea of what they want to do on their attack onto Church.
There's also been nothing to distract Eminem from what they're currently doing, right? Because the roamers fell off really early on, which just gives them this extra preparation time that might be working out. Firebolts are coming through just to make sure that they are unable to push out and allow Solotov to start coming through. It's actually Smokes, correct me. And as the 5-on-5 is still there, 30 seconds and Execute needs to come down now.
That's it. He's thrown one there. Pack ball from his swing. He's safe inside Dirt. He's popped it onto Blue. He's popped it onto the door there, but they're still going to see if they can stick it. Nello, he's found a quiet corner in amongst the madness, but Teb, he's found a fight back. Pack ball gets Solotov. It's the 3 versus 4. Eminem, they've got the kit close to sight. They haven't got the control to get the plant down. They're a bit cautious of the swing coming through. Usus and Tyrant, 2 important takes either side. There's Hungry. There's Hungry. Gets the double on the back end. Suddenly, a 2 versus 1. Tyrant still has the vertical control, but he does not have much health. He has to isolate these fights to the best of his ability. How do they take it? Do they try and go for the 2 versus 1 over the top floor, or do they try and bait it in on a 2-story fight, wait for the swing? There's the call, there's the read, there's the attempt to try and find the kit, the first play and the second, but he's caught out from above. There's Aces though, with the pop background. Has to just get the drop and the rotate and the defuse. He knows where it is, and he knows the key to hold. WYLDE, 9 points across their opening 3 games. They top our board.
And most likely will stay on the top of the boards as well. Incredibly played by them there in the end. The plan did go down, but they were able to fight back. That's going to be another victory they can be proud of. Basically confirm themselves for the next phase of stage 1. It's only going to be a matter of whether it's going to be first seed or second or third.
Eminem pushed them closer than the other 2 teams they've gone up against so far.